My expectations were completely shattered while reading this book. Hi everyone, my name is Fernanda. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. This was my first time reading something about the author, and around the page 100, even less actually, I already saw that the tone was kind different from what I imagined. First, because I read it as an ebook, so I didn't pay attention on the number of pages. Just when I already started, that I saw that is around like 800 pages or even more. I read in the Portuguese edition, by the way, and so I was like, okay, I was not expecting for such a big book. So the synopsis basically talks about Rowan, a neurosurgeon who ends up rescuing a guy who nearly drowned. When he dies, she managed to revive him and he comes back with powers. Then they join forces to understand where these powers come from. Hers and his, because we also discovered that she has powers as well. Ended up discovering that everything is connected to a spirit or demon called Lasher, who has been tormenting her family for generations, basically. And I thought the book was going to start right off this accident and the emergence of powers, and it does begin somewhat like that. But Anne Rice's writing, was nothing what I was imagining. She's extremely detailed, and like I'm used with very detailed stories. Like I really don't mind, but her style is different. Okay, she goes round and round and round on the same stuff about the character. For example, we have a very dense, very boring chapter about Michael. That is the guy who almost drowned. Almost no, he drowned. And like she begins the chapter telling how it happened, but then she starts to tell his story, like since he was born until nowadays. And it was like, I don't even know how many pages. I guess like 20 pages just about it. Just, to turn back and say how he's dealing with that right now. And she does that all the time. Every time she introduces a new point, she goes round and round and round about something else. And then she comes back. It was like talking with someone that lose the focus all the time. Like when people are talking to you and they start to tell a story, but they lose their focus and they start to talk about anything else. And then they come back to the main point. But like at that point, you're not interested anymore. This is what happened with Anne Rice. This is the way she writes, at least the way she wrote this book. And that was like a bit boring sometimes, most of the times to me. And before we get to the family part, the first chapters are each one about a different point of view. So there's Rowan, who only really appears around page 100, just for you to understand. Like she's basically the main character, and she only appears on page 100. We have Michael, the man who draws. We have Rowan's mother, Deidre, I think pronounced like that, I don't know. We have a priest that is basically the priest of the family. I actually, it's a priest, okay, that knows about the family. We also have a doctor that is the doctor of Deidre, but I think his chapter is connected with the chapter of Aaron, that is the guy who is investigating the Mayfair family and all this witchcraft aspects. He's part of a like organization who document and search about those paranormal stuff, basically. And like once I understood Annie Rice's style, things flowed better. I began to see the book not as a story about breaking a curse, fighting a demon, but as a deep dive into this family story, in its secrets and their characters. The Mayfair family's story is very intriguing, and even though, and at the beginning, as I said, we have these chapters about those people who are kind of connected with the family, and it's nice because of that, like because we see how these people are all interconnected, whether because by whether because they knew someone of the family, they heard stories about the family, or had some direct involvement with the family, And I love books where nothing happened. Basically, it's really something interesting for me. I call it like gossip books because we are there basically for the gossip. Okay, we are there for their lives, what is going on in their lives. Okay, we are not expecting nothing extraordinary to have happen. We are just there for them, for the gossip. Despite all the supernatural elements, this is basically what we get in this book. Like we get all the gossip about the Mayfair witches. So that was pretty interesting, at least in the first part of the book. About Michael's story specifically is that after the drowning, he was quite unsettled. Let's call it that. He knows that he died because he had a near death experience where he talked to people and um, like he remembers that he talked and that he went to this place and he talked to these people and those people offered him a proposal and he had to return to fulfill this proposal, okay, which he knows that involves a portal and a mysterious number, and it's connected to his hometown because he was born in New Orleans, but now he lives in San Francisco. And when he wakes up, he can't stop thinking about this house that he was obsessed when he was a kid. That is the Mayfair house, but he doesn't know that. So like he feels that is connected to this house, but he doesn't know what he has to do. He doesn't know what is this portal, what is this number. He doesn't know. He can't remember anything. Okay, all right. And besides all of that, he gained powers basically just by touching people and objects. He knows everything about them. So he and Rowan, that's a difficult name for me to speak, okay? Rowan, they reconnect. They meet again because he thinks that if he touches her or the boat where he was rescued, he'll be able to remember everything. And I'm not telling if he does or not. Just in case you want to read it, okay? Just in case. But going back to the family itself, it's very interesting to see how leisure affects all these generations. These entity, this demon, pass basically from mother to daughter, generation after generation. And at first, everything was quite mysterious. We hardly understand what's happening, and that made me even more intrigued and curious about the story. And at the end of the first part, because I don't know if I mentioned, but the book, the first version of the book, at least here in Brazil, it was divided in two parts. So I finished the first part without knowing what to think, to be honest. I I was really enjoying getting to know this family, seeing how Lasher was embedded in each woman's life. But at the same time, the book has some very problematic points, okay? There are statements about rape that I found extremely inappropriate, and there are also some incestuous dynamics like uncle with niece, brother with sister, father with daughter, that bother me. Like even though I've read and watched stories that has some similar dynamics, like House of Dragon, Game of Thrones. Something was different, something was different. Like because, of course, I got a bit bothered when I saw those scenes on Game of Thrones and House of Dragon, but like I didn't stop liking it. I didn't stop rooting for the characters. Like I didn't stop rooting for Rhaenyra and Daemon, for example. So, like, what is the difference between Anne Rice and Martin's narrative? And I talked to a friend. I gave all the spoilers. I show her the phrases, the dialogues. I show her everything, and she also said like, this is disgusting. I can't believe you are reading something like that. I was like, yes. But then I said to her, don't you think is strange that we find this disgusting but we love Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon? Don't you think it's interesting that we love Demo and Rhaenyra together? And she was like, yes, you are right. And then we started like to debating why this was so disgusting for us, and she came to a conclusion that I don't know if it's logical. It makes sense for me when she said, but I'm still not 100% sure. But basically, she said that like since Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, it's settled in a fantastical universe, unconsciously we understand that this is a lie. Okay, we understand that this is not happening. This is not part of our reality. So like it's easy to like do a makeup on this, pretend like knowing that it's happening, but like forgetting the real thing of it, like seeing them as a couple and forgetting that they are actually niece and uncle. Basically it's easier to our brain to disassociate. But since the witching hour, it passed on our reality with real people, in a real place, in a place that we know, our brain makes it look like it's part of our reality. And when it's part of our reality, it becomes grotesque. So it can be this, it can be this. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, it's something that it got me thinking for a while, and it still does. It still does sometimes. But anyway, just a warning, there are very problematic and descriptive scenes that can bother or even trigger some people. So if you want to go on, keep this in mind, okay? Also, I understand, I don't know if people are going to comment this on the comments, but I can understand that most of these things and most of the problematic, even racist, or like those, all the problematic dynamics that we have in this book are and actually can be explained by perspective of a historical period, since like most of these incestual dynamics, like they started on the 17th, 18th, I don't remember, but like 17th, 18th century. So I'm pretty sure that those ages, these were common, even if disgusting, but yeah. um, and like every problematic phrase that this book has, I can understand that we can put this under a historical lens. But even so, keep this in mind, all right, if you're going to read this book. But returning to the plot, what I liked most was how this story is presented through the Talamasca documents, which is the order that I told you about, like that studies the supernatural things and situations. And it was so cool because it's as if we're reading a real dossier about the Mayfair family. And Lasher, he plays a different role for each woman. Like with the first ones, like Suzanne and Deborah. Suzanne is the one that summoned him, and Deborah is her daughter. It seems like he was kind of a protective spirit, like bringing her power, giving her money. Basically, the entire heritage of the Mayfair family comes because of Lasher. So, and it comes in this, like, it starts with them, with Suzanne and Deborah and Charlotte, or Charlotte. I think, I don't know, I always read with Charlotte, but I don't know. Anyway, so, but like, as the years went by, he became almost as an obsessive spirit. And I know that obsessive spirits are more like, because it seems like, okay, I give you stuff, but I also want something in return. And I don't know much about obsessive spirits, but like what I know, I think they just get things from you. They don't give you in return. But the dynamic seems like that. Like he basically made a deal with this woman. Like, I will give you everything you want, but I also I want things in return. And for what we learn with the Talamasca document, it seems that like those who oppose him and end up going insane. Those who oppose him and doesn't agree with him, doesn't want him in their lives, end up going insane, while those who accept him, like, they live their lives completely safe and rich. And the most intriguing thing is that even though the book provides so many details, as I said, like, and even with the Talamasca document, like, we know everything about this family. It leaves a lot up in the air. Like, at times you think, I know everything about this family. And in other, you are like, you realize you know absolutely nothing. Because here is the thing, like, they followed this family throughout all the generations. But there are some generations where Lasher barely manifests. At least is what we know. Because we don't know everything. So, like, for what we know, he didn't manifest. But, like, that is the thing, like, they keep getting richer and richer and richer and powerful throughout the years and throughout the generations. So, like, the most pacific period of Lasher is basically when they build up their reputation, their heritage. So, like, we don't know if he was just there to provide them money and power during those generations, or like if he killed someone, if he those who could see him had enemies, and like asked him to deal with these enemies. He never reached the Talamasca's eye or ears. So we never know. We never know if he did something bad during those generations. So it was even difficult to understand what was the point, what he wants. Is he there just to really serve those people? Suspicious, right? So, like, it was complicated to understand him and to understand the dynamic with the information that we got. But that was the good thing about the book, actually. The basically the most interesting part of the book, because it was this mystery that kept me going and reading more and more and more to see if it was going to arrive to a point that I would understand everything. I would understand and know him and what he wants. But unfortunately, I arrived to the second part of the book and I was very disappointed. Because in the second part, the Talamasca document ends and we focus solely on Rowan and Michael and the prophecy that they have to fulfill. And honestly, it got very boring. Very, very boring. I skipped pages for you to understand. I only finished because I wanted to come here and provide a conclusion for you. And I don't know. I still don't know if I made the right choice, to be honest. If I lose my time. If I just completely lost my time. I don't know. Like, the ending and the second part in general was very frustrating because Rowan is presented from the beginning to us as a super intelligent, strong, the most powerful of the witches of the family. But when she comes into contact with Lasher, when they first met, like, all the strength disappears. And I understand that the author wanted to do, like, show that she's also a human being, with a lot of vulnerabilities, and that, like, Lasher is a very, very strong spirit. Is a very strong spirit that is surviving for centuries, basically feeding from the intelligence, from the soul, from the energy of the family for like 300 years or even more. He's doing that. So, yes, he's really strong. He's really manipulative. And it was interesting that maybe she tried to show this, she tried to show that even Rowan being smart and determined and strong, she can fail. But, like, I wanted to see more of that fight, of that struggle, like, of being influenced by him, like seduced by him, but at the same time, I need to keep my principles. I need to keep my shit together, and that doesn't happen at all, and it was really disappointing. Michael's whole purpose, like, I don't even know what to say, guys. I don't even know what to say. Like, so much mystery around his visions and around his power for nothing. At the end, it served nothing. And, like, we get a slight explanation of what was his role on this book, but we don't even know if it was right. I cannot explain because it would be a spoiler, but, like, if it's true, it's even more disappointing, because if his role was just that, it was just do what he did, that I cannot say what it is. Guys, I'm sorry. It's terrible. It's totally terrible. It's even worse. It just makes the book worse. So I don't know. I don't know what I want to believe. I don't know. Another thing that bothered me a lot is that this couple has no chemistry. Dear Lord. Annie Rice writing romance. Terrible. At least in this book. I'm not going to read the others, so I don't know. But this book, their interaction was terrible. I don't like insta love, so for me, like it already started off badly. Okay, it was already tragic at the beginning for the insta love. And Rowan, she has a characteristic that always irritate me, which is if I ignore the problem, it will disappear. I saw this a lot in the books I read when I was a teenager, especially in the Pretty Little Liars books. I don't know if you guys read it, but it drove me crazy. Like, when she started acting like that, she seemed completely out of touch. Because even after discovering the whole family history, she's like, let's ignore it and live happily here in this wonderful house that I inherited. Let's get married, have children, and be happy forever. When Lasher comes, if he comes, we'll deal with him. And I was like, girl, please do something. Do a spiritual cleaning in this house, exercise this place, throw things out on the trash, burn this house, build another one. Do something, get this spirit out of your life as soon as possible. But no. And the ending itself, I thought it could have been different. I actually like it could have been the way it was. But the way it was executed could have been different. Like my problem is not what happened, but how happened. As I said, Rowan with no determination, Michael completely diminished, and no one on the face of the earth knows how to defeat Lasher. No one. Maybe that comes in the next books, but I don't intend to read them. So I will never know. But like, no one knew. Like 300 of history of this family, and no one knew how to defeat him. No one even thought about how to do it. Like, we have this organization that studies paranormal events, that deal with this stuff, and they don't know how to defeat this spirit. I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, they should even try. I think the problem is that they didn't try it, okay? Like, she could have put a scene of like they're trying an exorcism and not working out, and we would understand like, okay, this is not going to work. He's stronger than that. This is not the correct way. But like, they don't even try. No one does nothing to deal with him. Absolutely nothing. You have a spirit in your house. You basically inherited a spirit that you don't want to, and you don't even try to get rid of him. I don't know. Anyway, guys, that was my rant, my review of The Witching Hour. At the end, I gave it like 2.75 stars. It was bad. I had a bad time. I want to know if anyone out there has read it and what is your thought. Please feel free to disagree with me as much as you want if you enjoyed it. But be respectful always. And that's it. Tell me in the comments if you also had difficulty dealing with this. I refuse to believe that I'm the only one. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe on the channel if you are not subscribed yet, so you don't miss the next ones. See you next time. Bye bye.